X and Y intercepts in context. So actually using the context of what they are to come up with our answers, not just saying X is 2 and Y is 3, actually saying when X is $2, then something is, something is $3 or something, whatever. That didn't make any sense. But my point being that we're going to actually use units. Okay, so what is an X and Y intercept? The x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. The ordered pair is always a number, comma, 0. So in this case, on our graph, that is -1, comma, 0. That is the x-intercept.
What does that say?
On our graph. Real quick, when x is 0, then it means it is the initial or starting. Whatever the unit is, it's the initial or starting, whatever the unit is. So whenever x is 0, it's like the starting amount or the initial amount of whatever the unit is. Okay, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. And also, nobody checked me on this, but I did this wrong. What is this actually here?
1, negative.
No, this is -2, so what is each of these then?
1/4.
They're a half, so this is -1/2, -1, -1.5, -2. So I did that wrong, sorry guys. Make sure, that brings me to a point, make sure you're always checking the scale on your graph. Or else you might do things wrong. Totally did that on purpose so that you guys would catch me on that, right? Yeah, just make sure that you guys are always checking the scale on your graph. What?
Why are there 2 circles on this?
Because I'm about to talk about the second circle. No, it's my fault because I got sidetracked because I realized I did that wrong. All right, yeah, so the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. So this is the y-intercept. So on our graph, the y-intercept is at 0, 1. So whenever you have a y-intercept, the x is always 0. So do you guys understand what an x and y-intercept are before we keep moving on here?
Yes.
So in an x-intercept, y is always 0. And on an on a y-intercept, x is always 0. So get that stuff written down. And then we are going to move on to the next one. If it's a y-intercept, x is always 0. And if it's an x-intercept, y is always 0. When you're ready, go ahead and flip to the next page so I know you're ready. right. Grace, what is the x-intercept on this first graph?
Hey Siri.
Yeah, what's this?
What? Grace is like 2 feet in front of me. I can barely hear her. Stop talking, please. Say it again. So the x-intercept is -3, 0. I'll just start with that. Colin,
Oh, I was going to see the y.
what is the y-intercept?
Oh, it's 0, -2.
Good, and the y-intercept is 0, -2.
Might be 95.
Okay. Shh. Again, be careful with the scaling on the graph. Stop all the side conversations, please. Brian, what is the x-intercept? Good, it's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's at 4, so this is 4, 0. Good job looking at the scaling on your graph. Riley, what's the y-intercept?
0, -3.
Again, it's counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is -3 here. So that is 0, -3. All right, do you have questions determining what an x or y intercept is? Or how to list the order pairs? Okay, then let's look at it from a table when you guys are ready. I just want to make sure you guys have it copied down.
I remember this from last year.
Good, we're going to put it in context in just a second. I just want to make sure you guys have this stuff down.
Oh my god.
You just.
I don't like what I see now. I don't like that one. So I gave it all to you. You gave it. Oh, you guys wearing the same thing? Oh, okay. Adobe.
Yeah, Stuka. What's Stuka? Student council.
Hey guys, I'm standing here because you guys will not stop talking. Stop talking, please. So how do you determine the x and y intercepts from a table? What do you guys look for? Josh? Okay, so if it's an x-intercept, which one should be 0? If it's a y-intercept, which should be 0? Good. So you know x and y-intercepts are based on those zeros. So for the x-intercept, y is 0, and for the y-intercept, x is 0. So we'll find our x and y-intercepts here. Mike, what is the x-intercept?
-12, -8,
actual x-intercept? It's when x-intercept is when y is 0.
8. 12. Wait, yes, 12.
Stop. Stop laughing. Seriously. Which one is it, Mike?
12.
And why?
Because y is 0.
Yes. So your y-intercept or your x-intercept is here because y equals 0. Okay, RC, what is my y-intercept? But say it as an ordered pair. Be careful. X comes before y. So this is the y-intercept because x equals 0. So Lamar, what is my x-intercept in the next one? Look for when y is 0. So this is x and this is y. So what is your x-intercept? Is that when y is 0? There you go. Damien, can you tell me what my y-intercept is? So it says y-intercept is when you look for when x is 0, Damien. So look in the x column, when is x 0? What number is that? Yeah. So your y-intercept is here because x is 0. Okay, questions on determining x and y intercepts from a table before we get into context problems. Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead and flip to the next slide. Okay, you attend a football game this fall. You decide to eat at the game and treat your friends. Hamburgers are $2 and hot dogs are $1.50 each. You have $18 to spend. The equation 2x plus 1.5y equals 18 is what represents this, where x is the number of hamburgers purchased and y is the number of hot dogs. So I always label my graph when I know what they are when I'm dealing with units. So this is number of hamburgers. That should be your first step, is to label so you can deal with your units correctly. So that should be your first step in context. So if everybody orders the same thing, how many hamburgers can you buy? What is the maximum number of hamburgers you can buy? Colin?
9.
So you look for here, hamburgers are your x-intercept, right? And this is 9, 0. So you can buy at most 9 hamburgers and 0 hot dogs for $18. Okay, so look at this, guys. I did the first one for you. Notice, did I talk about just the X or just the Y? Or did I talk about both of them?
You talk about both of them.
you need to make sure when you're talking about the description of your X and Y intercepts, you look at the ordered pair and you talk about both the X and the Y. X represents the number of hamburgers, Y represents the number of hot dogs. So we have 9 hamburgers, 0 hot dogs, and we're spending $18. So make sure you're talking about both. Okay, so what is the maximum number of hot dogs you can buy then? Brian? Be careful, count again. Yep. So, what sentence could I write here for this one? What is the sentence I could write here for this one? Alyssa? For how much money? Good. Okay, so what if you guys all don't want the same thing? Can you purchase a few hamburgers and a few hot dogs? And how do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
Buy more than one, but it's not $18.
Right? Do we have any points along this line that are at an exact point?
Yes. Yeah.
Where?
Well, we got 4.
5's not on it exactly.
6-4.
6-4. We got 6-4.
Is there any other ones?
Let's see. I don't know if there's 9, 3. Is there?
Okay, so it looks like we can do 3, 8, and 6, 4. Do you know how you can check that? Plug it into the equation. So that's 2 times 3 plus 1.5 times 8 has to equal 18. Is 6 plus 12 18?
Yes.
So that works. Okay, if we check this one, 2 times 6 is x. 1.5 times 4 equals 18. We got to see if that's true. Is 12 plus 6 18? So those do work. We do have 2 situations. And we know this because they are exact points on the graph. Graph plus we checked them by plugging them in. So what does 3, 8 mean? What does 3, 8 mean for us then? Mike?
Could buy 3 hot dogs and 8 hamburgers.
Switch that.
3 hamburgers and 8 hot dogs.
There you go. Do you understand why I said to switch it?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay. Do you understand really? Tell me why I asked you to switch it.
Because the hot dogs are up, and that's, well, it's 3. Wait, no, hamburgers are the X, so it'd be 3 and Y.
There you go. Thank you. I just want to make sure you understand why. Cassie, what does 6, 4 mean?
It means you can buy 6 hamburgers and 4 hot dogs.
Okay. What questions do you have on that first slide before we move on to a table? If you have overdue clevers, make sure you're doing them. Make sure you get that clever done by Monday every week. There's always a new clever every week. It will be there. Okay. A dance team has 2 competitions on the same day. The coach decides to split the 96-member team, sending some to each competition. Competition A requires 4-member dance teams per event, and competition B requires 6-member dance teams per event. The equation 4x plus 6y equals 96 models the situation where x is the number of 4-member teams, Bless you.
Bless you.
And Y is the number of 6-member teams. So again, I always label my X and Y so I know what they mean. So when I go to write up my reasoning with context, I have it there. So I can check myself. Okay, identify and interpret the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts and interpret them. Miguel, what is the x-intercept? What? Say it as an ordered pair. X, comma, y. So it would be.
0, 16.
Okay, so is that the x-intercept or is that the y-intercept?
So 16, 0.
Nope. That's still 0, 16. You read that right, but is that the x-intercept? If you were to plot the point, 0, 16, that would be up here. Is that the x-intercept? No, that's the y-intercept. Which one is the x-intercept?
24.
And as an order pair.
0, 24,
Good. Connor, what does 24, 0 mean? But what does X represent? What number of teams? So they can send 24, 4.
Oh, I thought that said you couldn't read that.
So they can send 24 what? So 24 4-member teams and how many 6-member teams?
6.
No, be careful. In the same ordered pair. Guys, stop. Yes, so they can send. What's up?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Can I see coffee?
Yep. Okay, Kaylee, what does 0, 16 mean? And?
And 0 plus 1 number 8.
Yeah, guys, shh, stop talking. Seriously. Please. Thank you. All right, so you need to make sure you're saying both intercepts, even if one's 0. So make sure you talk about both of them. So don't just tell me one or the other. So they can send 0 4-member teams. And 16 6-member teams. Okay. Blaine, what is another possible solution? So they can send, and how did you find that, Blaine?
On the graph, I see the difference.
Yep, that's just right there. Jayla, what's another one they could have said? Done.
They can send 6 4-number teams and 12 6-number.
All right. Look at that one and see if there's any questions for me before we get to the backside. We only have 2 more examples, and we should have them done before lunch. Then you guys will come back. We'll go over a few clever problems, and you will work on homework, okay? So we'll go over a few of the absolute value clever problems. Jordan. Use what?
No, that's the thing. Answered your question. I had a question, but they answered it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Farmer Bill plants soybeans for his summer crop.
Holy crap.
He invests $2,000 for the field on the soybeans and equipment to plant and harvest the crop. Assuming Farmer Bill does not spend any money for unexpected expenses and soybeans sell for $4 a bushel, given the equation is y equals 4x minus 2,000, where x is the number of bushels sold and y is the total profit. You can figure this out by the slope because this is the rate of change. It's cost per bushel, right? And it's y over x. So that's why y is the total cost and x is the number of bushels. Pretty sure we looked this up last year because kids asked me what a bushel was, and it was quite a bit. I think it was like some tons or something like that. So you have to spend money to make money. So does it make sense that he's in the hole when he starts? Yeah, he spent money for his crop, and he spent money on his like equipment, whether it be like tractors or something like that. It wouldn't be tractors because $2,000 is not what that would be. But the point being that he spent money before he can make it. So when will the farmer break even on his crops, and how do you know? When will the farmer break even? So break even means get back to 0. So when will he break even? So 500, comma 0, right? And how do you know that? Because of the table, right? That means he has $0 at that point. So this means that after he sells 500 bushels, he breaks even. Okay, what is my y-intercept in this problem, and interpret it for me too. So what is the y-intercept and what does it mean? Emma, do you need me to read that to you? Are you sure? What is my y-intercept and what does it mean? Jordan, what is my y-intercept? And what does that mean in the problem? Yeah, 0 is an initial. He initially spent $2,000, right? So you can either say if he never sells any bushels, he's going to stay in the hole, negative $2,000, or you can say his initial cost to start up the soybean bushels was $2,000. It doesn't matter which way you say it. questions do you guys have on that one? What questions do you guys have on that one? All right, last one. Baymax. So have anybody seen Big Hero 6?
Yes.
That's what it's from, okay. How is that unfortunate? It's such a good movie.
Yeah, but I don't like that marshmallow.
But he's so funny.
Yeah, but they already filmed for that one.
Is there gonna be like a second one?
I don't know, I hope. That's a good movie.
Hopefully they don't ruin it.
Although, yeah, your seconds can sometimes
A
do
lot,
that.
a lot of movies are ruined by the sequel.
I watched Big Hero 6 probably 20 times this summer because my daughter was obsessed with it, so.
Yeah.
I think that's a cultural thing. So I think you're being like, I'm pretty sure that's cultural.
Okay, I got really confused on where they were at. Were they in Chinatown?
They were in San Francisco, Tokyo. So I think they were mixing Tokyo and San Francisco. It's a fictional place. It's not like a real place. They mix San Francisco and Tokyo together is what they essentially did. That's why it was called San Fran Tokyo.
Notice how the only character that actually says his name like he
What?
is like,
Or something like that. But I mean, I think they were trying to mix like San Francisco and Tokyo together. Okay. Because I'm pretty sure that's like the culture of what like Hero and his brother were. Okay. Baymax has $60 for the month for medical supplies ready to help young children. Every time he helps a child, it costs him $3.75 in supplies. The equation is y equals negative 375x plus 60, where x is the number of children helped and y is the amount of supplies left for the month. So it's, I don't think that's what x and y represent. A minute. It's cost per supplies. Because it's cost over supplies, right? So X would be the amount of supplies he uses, and Y is the money he has left over. So we need to change that. So it's per child, so that's why it says that. So each child he helps uses like one thing of supplies, so that's why X is that, and Y is the amount of supply money he has left. So that does make sense. Never mind. I read it wrong. Okay. What is the X? Yeah. Not right now. What is the X-intercept in context? What is the X-intercept in context, Tanari? And what does that mean? So X is the number of children he's helped. Y is the amount of supply money he has left. So when Baymax has helped, how many children? 16 children. How much money does he have left? Okay. So when Baymax has helped, $16 children, he has no supply money left. Left for the month. Justin Powers. What is the y-intercept and what is its context? 60 comma. Be careful. That was the wrong order. That was my fault by how I phrased it. That's how I phrased it. And what does that mean? He starts with $60 in supplies money. Okay. In the equation, is there a place you could find the y-intercept? In the equation, is there a place you could find the y-intercept? Yeah, Kaylee? Yeah. If you guys remember back to last year, y equals mx plus b was your best friend.
Oh, yeah.
And b is the y-intercept, so that's where you can find the y-intercept too. Can Baymax help 20 kids for the month and why?
Nope.
No, why not? Because he's at 0 at 16, so he'd be going in the hole at that point, right?
They're all fighting robots and hurting each other.
But Baymax would find a way.
Maybe I can, like,